Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Capes and Lunatics. I am Phil. Charlie is here. Lilith is still on vacation, but we are talking once again to the man, the legend, Mr. J.M. DeMatteis. Hello, sir.
Hey, how are you?
And we're going to be talking your big announcement, but like I said in your email, I mean, it was perfect timing because we were going to talk these Ghost Rider issues anyway. But then when you got a hold of me, I was like, oh, hey, yes, this will work fine. But yeah, we're going to talk your work on some of the final issues of the original Ghost Rider run. I got some feedback on this. Okay, I didn't know this was a controversy, but I guess or a question.
There's a controversy about
not a controversy.
35-year-old issues of Ghost Rider.
I guess more like a question. I
have you met comic book fans?
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah. You have a point, sir. You have a point.
The question I was brought because I always thought the demon's name was Zarathos, but I guess other people pronounce it differently. So,
that's the controversy. It's Zarathos.
Well, yeah, I guess
it's Zarathos. You are
okay.
Correct.
Oh, it's not Zarathos?
Yes,
I've been pronouncing it wrong all these years.
Right.
Actually, there's certain sections of hell where they pronounce it Zarathos, but it's actually the real pronunciation. That's Zarathos, but certain demons with certain accents say Zarathos.
Yeah, so like in the north of hell.
Yes,
north and south
of hell. Yeah,
north hell. It's Zarathos, but
right.
but he's not from the north.
But his family pronounces it Zarathos. Yeah.
Zarathos, fair enough. See, that explains everything.
Yeah.
As Doctor Who once said, lots of planets have a north. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I originally came across this run, and when they reprinted it in the original Ghost Rider Rides Again,
right.
which I also sent to Charlie, and I don't know why this run doesn't get more attention because it's like it starts with Roger Stern, it goes to you. I'm like, two great writers.
Let's start right there. Stern really created the foundation that we built on, and I think Budiansky was working with Roger. I think for part of that run.
Yeah.
So and then we built it out from there. And the interesting thing about it was, at a certain point we got word that the book was being canceled. Now, very often you get word that a book is being canceled and it's too late to do anything about it. And you're in the middle of a storyline where you have to rush to wrap something up. For reasons that I don't recall, we had enough warning that we were actually able to create a real substantial ending for that series, that I think was a really satisfying ending.
Oh yeah, I mean everything. The origin of Zarathos, and being able to tie up Johnny Blaze's story pretty well.
Yeah, and before we get any deeper into this, I have to really be clear that I was working very intimately with Bob Budiansky on these stories. We co-plotted all those stories. It was the first time I had ever worked with an artist who was also the co-plotter on a book, and we just had a great time. Bob's an old friend. And we kind of got to know each other through that collaboration. And we used to get on the phone and sit and talk for a couple of hours, and bounce ideas around. And then I'd go off and, write the plot and embellish it from there. And then he would draw it and off we'd go, But it was a great collaboration. So I always have to give Bob, a lot of credit for not just being the artist, but the co-plotter on that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is like my favorite version of Ghost Rider. I mean, the 90s version is pretty good. Again, it's like innocent blood is spilled. I have to avenge it. Again, Zarathos, it's like it's like, oh, if the innocent gets saved, though, that's well and good. But, he's basically just there to, fry the souls of evildoers.
Right.
It's like, do I want to root for this guy? It's one of those stories where it's like, do I want to root for this guy?
Well,
right. Well, you're always rooting for Johnny Blaze.
Yes.
You shouldn't be rooting for Zarathos.
No.
You're always rooting for Johnny.
At least they're evildoers,
Yes.
That's the thing. It's like, if you want to believe in cosmic scales of justice, that's why you have a Zarathos,
Right. But, the flip side of that is, one of the themes of a book like this, and why I like characters like Ghost Rider or like, Damon Hellstrom, they sort of embody the split that we all have within us. People are not maybe somewhere in this world there is people that are all good or all evil. We all have a collection of contradictory impulses. For most of us, it's not as dramatic as it is for Ghost Rider or aside from a few politicians, But for most of us, it's not that dramatic. But these kind of characters allow us to explore that duality. And that duality applies, to the quote bad guys as well. So it's an interesting thing. Even Centaurus, who's another one of the bad guys,
Yes.
as I recall, is also, once you get his backstory, you can see why he's a sympathetic character as well.
And it all comes back to Mephisto, man. I mean, so many stories anymore all comes back to Mephisto.
I really should have reread these before we started talking. I'm like, oh right, was Mephisto in that story? Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Although you also have the other demon in there, Astaroth, I believe his name is.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. It's
that issue where Mephisto separates Johnny and Zarathos,
right.
and
And
says,
that
"Oh,
issue, credit where credit's due. That issue, I think, was kind of done originally as a fill-in. Don Perlin, who drew it, also plotted that. So I just dialogued that one, and Don plotted and drew that one, and I believe he also inked it too. And Don always looked at his best when he inked himself. It was a nice looking issue, as I recall. All these old memories are getting reactivated.
That's good. That's what this is all about. Just reminding people of the work that came before, the shoulders of giants on which we all stand and look forward.
Oh, no one's gonna blame you
and
for
reminding me.
Yeah, well, there we go. Well, hey,
no one's gonna blame you.
You can be both the giant and the person standing atop
That's
the
right.
giant.
I will stand atop my own shoulders.
And again, no one's gonna blame you for not remembering. I mean, I always say, go to his IMDb, just scroll.
Right.
He wrote this. It's like,
Yes. But yeah, so, and actually this was one of the controversial. See, I thought I was going to throw out my controversy.
Okay.
So, because we actually get in the first issue that I read of yours of this, it was the, and again, because these are all reprints, so I don't know what the original run, the Eyes of
Adam Henderson.
Yeah, the Eyes of Adam Henderson.
That might have been the first issue that I did. It was probably done as a fill-in, and then it got me the gig. Maybe, I think, if I'm remembering it all correctly.
Well, it's a really cool story, but there's a very interesting aspect of this that we get where you have him meet the psychic, who is described as basically a phony psychic, as most carnival psychics are.
Right.
Until she.
Yes, please continue to remind me what this story is.
Yes, she touches the person who's possessed by the evil smoke monster, and then suddenly she looks into her crystal ball and she gets the visions. And then later in another issue, you have her actually having visions of Johnny Blaze, and it's sort of one of these interesting ideas in this concept where did she always have powers that are awakened? Was it now that she's been exposed to real magic that now it's given her this ability to have this sort of vague psychic awareness? I found it very interesting, the difference between, and again, because to me it's issue 2, but it's actually the second story in the second issue of Ghost Rider Rides Again, and issue 4 where we actually get that, which I believe is where we first meet Centaurus as well. So I just found that very fascinating to me.
Well, here I'll make up an answer. I have no idea what I was thinking this time, but I'll make up. My concept is, I think that we all have, you want to call them psychics, let's say intuitive abilities. Everybody does. We just do. Again, this is a comic book, so it gets exaggerated, but I think we all have hits on things. We all have an ability to see into things in a certain way. So, and I like your idea that actually by being exposed to this power, it really activated something that was in her, maybe in all of us all along, and then it opened her up to this. So I'll agree with you based on something I'm making up on the spot.
There you go. That's why I'm the professor.
Thank you, Professor. I appreciate it.
No problem.
But yeah, I don't know. People were mentioning, so much of what you did came back in the '90s. Centaurus, Steelwind, all these.
Oh, they did. I don't really.
Oh yeah.
That's good.
They eventually brought all this because I think they brought Centaurus back first because they had that whole mystery in the '90s. It's like, is '90s Ghost Rider Zarathos or not? And
okay.
I think originally they were going to do that, but then they didn't. See, they brought him back separately. So, but yeah, no, they brought a lot of your stuff back. Like I said, I had to reread these because I couldn't. I think all the stories flow so perfectly. Probably you're going to say, because Bob's influence, but like I had trouble remembering what stories were yours, which were Roger's, because it just all flows so smooth.
Yeah, it was a nice flow. It's a great gift to a writer when he takes over a book and the stories that came before are so strong, because it gives you a great foundation to build on. You don't have to go, I have to change everything to make this book be, better or whatever. You say, oh, they've got some good stuff going. I was lucky. The same thing happened with me on Captain America, because Roger and John Byrne were the run before mine, and they had established a lot of really cool stuff that I then took that as my foundation and built up and out from there.
Oh, that's right.
Let's plug it. Just came out this week.
Right
here. It's the epic. It finishes my run. It's the second epic collection of my run.
But we were just covering some of your issues a couple of weeks ago. Charlie, the one where Bernie finds out where Steve's Captain America, the stuff, that was his. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. By the way, I love Bernie. She is always my favorite.
What a great character. Yeah. And I was asking somebody about it, but they've never revived her, brought her back or anything, right? She hasn't been seen for years, correct?
Not recently. I'm trying to think of the last time I saw her. It's been a while. I think she comes up as the Avengers lawyer for a brief bit when they were doing the everyone wore leather wore matching jackets phase. I could be wrong about that.
I assume that was a long time ago.
Yeah,
I know in the '90s, Mark Gruenwald brought it back for a while.
Yeah, I think Gruenwald brought it back for a while, but I mean that's a long time ago too.
Oh
yeah, exactly.
She's a great character. I loved writing that relationship with Steve and Bernie. They were a great couple.
It was such a great couple that when they actually made a Captain America film in the '90s, they named his World War II they named his future girlfriend Bernie.
They did?
Yes,
I must
they
have missed
did.
that.
Yeah,
really?
if you want the '90s Captain America, the granddaughter of his ex-girlfriend from the '40s is named.
Oh
Bernie.
wait! Oh, you're saying the '90s Captain America?
Yeah, with Matt Salinger.
Yeah. The '90s movie. Yeah,
I vaguely remember seeing that once, and
and that's enough for anyone. It's okay. but that's it. Just shows how iconic Bernie is. That's always one of those things. Like to me, Bernie is kind of like Captain America's MJ, and I know no one else.
Yes, that's the way I felt about it. That's exactly how I felt about it.
And it's like sometimes a superhero doesn't need the love that lasts for centuries. They need the love that actually is a day-to-day love, and
And also, she was not really Captain America's love. She was Steve Rogers' love. Do you know what I mean? Because that was one of the rare times in his career where he had a life beyond. Most of the time, Captain America is busy running around being Captain America. And one of the great things that Stern and Byrne did was give him a life and a career as an illustrator and things like that, and friends. And so she was Steve's girlfriend. She wasn't like, Agent whatever her name was, who was Captain America's love or whatever. So yeah, it helped humanize Steve, that relationship. We got to really develop him into a character, not just as a guy who, I always say with Spider-Man that mask on or mask off, he's Peter Parker. For a long time for Captain America, mask on or mask off, he was Captain America. In these stories, he got to be Steve Rogers.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that's something we've lost in a lot of modern comics. Like Peter Parker still has a secret identity, but a lot of these guys don't have secret identities anymore, and I think you kind of lose that, like the human aspect. It's just,
right.
It's like mask on, mask off. There's Captain America, Iron Man, whoever, but I miss that.
Ran out of questions already.
No,
no, because we got the Freak Master. We got.
You bring back Freak Master, who I guess Roger had hinted at, but yes.
It was a while back. I was trying to figure out, did we create Freak Master? And I realized what someone pointed out, I think, was that he had been talked about, but you never saw him until we came along. Yeah,
like he sent his lackey Ronaldo in one of Roger's issues, but we never saw him. Yeah,
right.
Yes. Ronaldo, who's also kind of cool. I know it's yours, but still, it's
Well, I was going to say, did you get any notes from Roger about what he had in mind?
I don't. If I did, I don't recall, but I don't think so. The fun is you just read the other guy's stories, and once in a while there might be something. I remember years ago when I was doing Defenders, and I was leaving Defenders, I wrote up a whole little, almost like a Bible for Peter Gillis for him to read and ignore, which is fine, but just to give him the option of having that information if he needs it about where the characters were at, what I thought was going on with the book. But usually you just read the stuff and you take it from there and you try to make it your own while respecting what came before.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the other thing. I think another strength of a writer is like when they honor what came before and they don't just like completely ignore it or like,
Right.
I'm going to change
Right.
everything.
Right.
Again, it makes the stories flow much smoother. But and again, another one that made complete sense when Nightmare shows up and it's like, oh yeah, I hope you, Zarathos, I hope you get this body, yeah, because
Yeah, that was fun
would
because
make sense.
I love Doctor Strange. I love that whole Doctor Strange
Yeah.
mythology. So it was really fun to use Nightmare.
And it makes sense. Yeah, it's like, hey, Zarathos, you get out there and you go wild. You're going to create a ton of nightmares. You're going to give me power. Yeah, get out there, have fun, kid.
So, and here's my biggest question about that. Doctor Strange, Dr. Druid, and Damien Hellstrom playing Jax.
Oh,
are they there? Is that really them, but just being interpreted by
my recollection is, and
Blaze?
again, I haven't seen that story in decades. I could always try to dig it out and pull it off my shelf. Wasn't it that whole thing sort of a hallucinatory dream state?
It was like Nightmare.
I don't think they were really there playing Jax together.
Okay.
I think it was just a projection.
Okay.
Although you never know, maybe they get together once a week and play Jax or poker or something. You know?
I would love that, honestly.
They play Battleship. It could be anything.
Yeah, it's what else you gonna do when you're a master of the mystic arts? You
got to have some downtime, right?
Exactly.
I figured it was just a dream, but I was like, what's the significance of Jax? Why not poker?
Yeah,
I think it was just because it was the most absurd thing I could think of, you know.
But even the son of Satan can be defeated at Jax. And I'll be honest with you, I do not know how you play Jax. I don't know what the scoring system is.
I don't know. I have a vague memory of maybe even owning it as a kid, and even then not knowing what I was doing. I was just throwing them around and having fun.
Yeah, just don't step on them. Those are you do not ever want to step on.
No, that's right. That's right.
Especially the metal ones, man. Now they've actually made like soft plastic jacks so that you don't like kill yourself when you step on them.
Right, and some kid doesn't decide to eat one. Right, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, jeez, yes. Kids and eating things they should not eat. That's always a problem.
That's right.
All right.
Oh, but the first story, when you created Centurious, I mean, he's basically just a soulless guy that Johnny and Ghost Rider or Zarathos face. I'm like, did you have in mind then that you were going to bring him back, in time into Zarathos' backstory, or did that come later?
That's a good question. Why couldn't you have interviewed me in 1983? You know what I mean? It's like, I have a feeling that he was just a cool character to start, and that was the first issue that Bob and I did together, I think.
I believe so.
I had done a couple of fill-ins, and that was the official beginning of the run.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if Bob was co-plotting by that point, but he if not, he jumped on pretty quickly thereafter. So I think it was just a cool character. And then we thought, it's always nice when things have more significance than you originally thought. You create something and then suddenly, these characters come alive and they begin to insist that they come back. It's not you deciding. They're going, no, I'm important. Come on, bring me back in the story. Bring me back in the story. And Centurious was that kind of character.
Personally, I want Old Adam to come back because
Old
Adam was cool.
The old man in that story.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Well, because he was the only one that aged of the whole group. So, you get the idea that that he was the only person who still had something left of him. That he was the one person that continued to age and live and become.
Oh yeah, didn't he keep his soul? And Centurious was just tormenting him with we found out later was his sister. Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
When we're done with this conversation, I'm gonna have to pull these books out and read them because they sound good.
Yeah, they're really good books.
They're very good.
Them,
They're very good. I've been wanting to talk to you about these for a while. No, these are good.
It's interesting. When I look back at stuff that from very early in my career, and I had just started at Marvel. When I started on Ghost Rider. And it's a point in my career where I'm still finding my feet. I'm still trying to figure myself out as a writer. So that these stories still hold up years later is a nice thing. It makes me look back at my younger self and go, oh, that's pretty good. I'm glad that these stories hold up. It's like when I got this Captain America collection arrived the other day, and I'm reading through these stories, and it's like they're coherent. They have a beginning, middle, and end. There's characterization. It's a good story. Because you tend to look back and only see your errors as you're growing. You look back and you go, God, that sentence or that particular story was so off the rails or whatever. So it's nice to look back and see the stories that really worked and hold up.
And again, I mean, I think that's anybody in any area of life, when you look back, 20, 30 years, you're like, what was I doing back? What I could have did this different. I could, again, the stories are great, but
right. But because, we're always learning. Even now, hopefully I'll look back in 5-10 years from now at anything I'm doing now and go, that would have been better if I did that, or if I did that, because you want to keep growing. You want to always keep evolving creatively.
Well, yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, you love the Doctor Strange stuff. I'm surprised Doctor Strange didn't make an actual appearance in any of these issues.
It's true. It's true.
Well, he sort of does. This is my point.
Right. Well, yeah, and his hallucination. Yeah, but
well, maybe if we kept going, because I was writing Defenders at the same time, we could have done a nice Ghost Rider Defenders crossover. Although I had Ghost Rider in an issue of Defenders around the same time that I was doing that. So that was, I guess, that was the way I did it. I did it in the other direction. We should have done a 2-part crossover.
But I know that fill-in issue you did with Adam Henderson, that was it Null? I mean, that was from a Defenders issue. You're like,
that's right.
Read Defenders. I mean,
that's
smart.
right. Yeah. I look back at the story. I was connecting. I was kind of trying to connect up everything I was writing. There was a Defenders Captain America crossover, and when I did Marvel Team Up, I would bring in stuff from the Defenders, so keeping it all in its own little sub-universe.
Captain America did a team up with the Defenders.
Yeah.
That's what I love. I mean, you were so versatile. I mean, you could do like horror stuff. You could do the Captain America and Spider-Man stuff, which is straight up superhero. And again, he could do serious psychological stuff. He could do horror stuff. But then this is also the man who gave us like Eternity Century. That Charlie, we also did that Leapfrog issue, a Marvel Team Up.
Yes. Which for some reason, I always thought.
Let's be correct. He's the fabulous Frogman. Son of
Frogman. Yes.
Fabulous Frogman. And coming soon, apparently, to She-Hulk.
I hope so.
Yes.
I was like amazed this past year when they actually did a Frogman action figure.
Ooh.
Which I have sitting over there on a shelf right now.
Yeah. Well, it was that's actually the big question about She-Hulk is, will it be Eugene or will it actually be his criminal
dad.
Father? Yeah, so that's we don't know yet. So that's what they're teasing us with.
Time will tell. I hope it's Eugene.
I hope it's Eugene too, honestly. And actually, I will tell you right now, my son is very mad that there are no Misfits stories of Steel Spider and Toad and Frogman and their adventures, which was also from that team up. So I'm just putting that out there.
I think the Misfit thing might have been Peter David.
Yeah, that story was Peter David. But
okay, never mind. Then I'm sorry.
But I was the idiot that created Frogman.
Yes, okay.
And I have to say, I actually love that character. If someone said to me, "Would you do a monthly Frogman book?" I would do it in a heartbeat. Honest to God.
Yes. Well, he's getting a lot of play. He was just in Iron Man.
That's right. I noticed Chris Cantwell. He had Frogman. He had Ben Reilly. Yeah. He had the Gargoyle. He had all these.
I know they did a lot of your characters. Yeah.
Well, I'm just throwing it out there that there is a market for Untold Tales of Frogman.
That's right.
When he was out there doing his superheroing off panel. So
well, if he shows up in She-Hulk, they might tie it into Daredevil because Daredevil is coming
right
on She-Hulk.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Because the original was a villain of Daredevil.
Anyway. So what else you got, Mr. DeMatteis? What are you working on now?
Oh yeah, okay. Do you want to get to
before I get to the big announcement? I'll plug a couple of other things. The Ben Reilly Spider-Man collection came out this week.
Yes,
collected edition.
Very good
beautiful art by David Baldeon.
Yes,
very happy about that. A month or so ago, I released a novella called The Excavator, which you can find either at a website called Neotext or buy it directly from Amazon.com. It's talking about supernatural. It's a supernatural thriller. I'm really, it's the first prose work I've done in about 10 years, and it also has 10 beautiful illustrations by a wonderful artist named a Greek artist named Vasilis Godzilis. I've known Vasilis for so many years and I still can't say his name right. So I understand why people can never pronounce my name either. So I'm very proud of that. I would love for people to go out and check that out. And the big news for this week is we are getting ready to launch my first ever Kickstarter project. And it's the really interesting thing is it's not one project, it's 4. So my friend David Baldy, who was a writer and producer, longtime TV writer and producer, came to me at one point and said, I'd love to put together a Kickstarter for you, you know? And I thought about doing Kickstarters before because I have, you know, I'm always working on original stuff and it just seemed like so much work, you know? And David came along and said, let me handle the hard work part, you know, you go create, you know? And he said, and we were bouncing ideas around and I pitched him like 4 or 5 things. And he said, well, let's do 4. And what we came up with, we're doing 4 first issues, 4 completely different genres, styles, tones, 4 my favorite artists, you know, on each book. And we're calling it the DeMultiverse. And so we have Tom Mandrake, Sean McManus, David Baldion, who did Ben Reilly, and Matthew Dow Smith. So 4 really fantastic artists, co-creators on these books. And we're going to be launching in October. And I think it's one of the most exciting things I've been involved in my entire career. You know, we've created an imprint called Spellbound Comics that will be handling this. So you can check us out in October on Kickstarter. And right now you can go to spellboundcomics.com and you can get all the background information about the series. One is called Godsend, which I kind of, it's my one-liner is Jack Kirby meets Philip K. Dick meets The Matrix. That's the one that Matthew Dow Smith is doing. There's Wisdom, which is a supernatural Western. These are all ideas that I've been carrying with me for like 10, 15, one of them 20 years, you know, waiting to get them out in the world. So Tom Mandrake, just an amazing job he's done on Wisdom. The third one is called Any Man, which is, at first seems like a more conventional superhero story, but there's a big twist in there that kind of turns it on its head. That's the one that David Baldion is doing. And then there's this wonderful all ages fantasy called Layla in the Lands of After, which is sort of like, well, what if you went to Oz, but you found out that it wasn't a magical land. This is actually the afterlife and you're dead. You know, but done for an all ages audience. And Sean McManus, who I worked with, you know, back in the day on Dr. Fate, one of my all-time favorite collaborators, just beautiful, beautiful artwork on that. And so you'll be able to get these as 4 individual issues. We're going to also have a collected edition. The collected edition will have a foreword by my old pal, Tom DeFalco. I'm going to write essays about each of the projects. We're going to have all kinds of extras in there. And then the really fun thing is everyone who either buys all 4 of the first issues or buys the collection gets to vote on the first of these 4 books that goes to series. Ooh. Our plan is to take them all to series, but we can only do them basically one at a time. So you get to vote, maybe people will vote for one individual book, or they'll say, hey, we want to see the second issue of all 4 and collect those together in an anthology. So that's really fun. We've also got some really, really great artists lined up for alternate covers on these books as well. I can't talk about most of them, but one that who already turned in his work and it's stunning is J.H. Williams III. You know him?
Ooh, yeah.
From Promethea and lots of other great work. He's just an astonishingly gifted artist and just has done such a beautiful job for us. But we have other really big names coming along to do these alternate covers. So it's just really exciting, and you'll be able to support this on Kickstarter, or you know, you could support it directly through the Spellbound Comics website. It's just, I am like over the moon about this.
So I'm sorry if I missed it. Are all 4 number 1s dropping at the same time, or is
yes,
all at once? Okay, good.
And the great thing is, you know, by the time the Kickstarter is done, all these books are going to be complete because we've been working on these for quite some time.
Oh,
you know, some of the scripts I wrote back during the pandemic. You know, so these were things I've been developing for a while during the pandemic. Like it's over, guys. It's not over. Be careful. Oh, yeah. And so it will all be, which means you won't be waiting 2 years to get the books. You know, sometimes, you know, you see some of these Kickstarters and they haven't even started work on these things till they get the money from the Kickstarter. So, you know, we're very far along with all these projects right now. And so you'll be able to get that. And, so there'll be the 4 individual issues, there'll be the 4 alternate covers and the collected edition. And we will get them to you as soon as we can.
Yeah, it all looks good. So there's a chance that all 4 of these will keep going forward. You said
that's our hope and our plan. So but like I said, we're going to start with 1, unless our supporters say no, we want to see all 4 of them. So now we'll do all the 2nd issues and collect those, and then we'll do all the 3rd issues and collect those, which I think is a fun idea as well. I don't know if you remember years ago, Barry Smith did something for Dark Horse called Barry Smith Storyteller. And he had like three or 4 different new series that they were these giant treasury edition size things with this beautiful Barry Smith art. And I love that anthology format where you would get, or even the old Marvel books, the split books, where you get multiple features at once is kind of a fun thing. But it's up to the supporters. They will tell us what to do next. And I think that's a really fun element to this. Yeah. Plus the fact that we're dealing with some really heavyweight artists. We've got Taylor Esposito, who's a wonderful letterer, doing all the lettering. We have some great colorists on tap. We're not messing around here. It's going to be it's a big deal for me, and I think anyone that's enjoyed my work over the years is going to enjoy these books.
No, I mean, you're a great writer. I mean, it sounds like you got great artists, and again, I mean, there's good stuff coming from people you've never heard of before. But I mean, sounds like you and sounds like the artists you have are all like tried and true names, so you know what you're going to get. The quality you're gonna get.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the story.
I got to be honest with you. I was just peering through some of the initial artwork, and I don't know what Any Man's about, but I'm very excited for it. It looks like one of the covers you're starting off with what looks like Any Man versus some kind of bizarro Any Man, and that's kind of cool. And then you have another bit of artwork on there, which is just 100 Any Mans, and assuming that's Any Man that I'm looking at, but I'm very excited about that.
Indeed, and it's funny. I really wrestled with: are they any men or are they any mans? I'm not. Yeah, Any Man. Yeah, like I said, it seems like it's a more traditional superhero story at first, but there's a big twist in there.
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
So that looks really exciting.
Yeah, they're all. I mean, I'm in love with all of them, and the fun for me as a writer is, one's a supernatural Western, one's sort of an Oz-like fantasy, one is a superhero story, one is sort of a Kirby Gods, Philip K. Dick twisting reality kind of story, So they're all different. So I get to express my voice in different ways through different genres.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just like the MCU. It's like, that's part of their popularity is that, all those movies are different genres. You get the stuff on Earth, you get space stuff.
Yeah. And, the great thing for me is, like I said, most of these are ideas that I've had around, I've been developing, for quite some time. I mean, the Godsend idea might be floating around for like 18 or 20 years. The other ones, maybe 10, 12 years, it's a long time. And then you immerse these things and then to suddenly see them, that's the fun of comics too. The reason why I consider all the artists co-creators is it doesn't matter how long this thing is in my head, until they bring those images to life, it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. They're designing a world that's in my head. I can't do that. So whenever I start to get these pages and it's like, here's this thing that's been in my head for all these years. And look, it's real now. It's not real till they draw it, and and then to match up the artists with the projects. Tom Mandrake, we worked a little bit together. He did a few issues of Scooby Apocalypse along the way, but I've always loved his work on Spectre, all the stuff he did with John Ostrander on Martian Manhunter, and he's so great with Westerns and with the supernatural. So it's like, who else could you get to draw this thing but Tom Mandrake? And Baldion. I had never heard of him before we did Ben Reilly, and every page that came in, I fell more in love with his artwork. And as great as the Ben Reilly stuff was, I think he's topped himself with Any Man. Matt Smith and I have wanted to do a big project together for some years now. We've worked on a couple of smaller projects together, and we've talked about this particular project for a couple of years now. So that's very exciting. And like I said, Sean is one of my all-time favorite collaborators. The 2 years we did on Dr. Fate together, some of my favorite work that I've ever done. So it's just, this is literally a dream come true. And, David Baldy has been the guardian angel who came in and has made this all happen.
And most important, the date. Can we pre-order that? Is it up now? What's
All the information you need, go to the spellboundcomics.com. You'll be able to sign up for, and get notifications.
updates?
The
Okay.
Kickstarter will probably be launching early October. Maybe, don't hold me to this, on the 10th, 11th, somewhere in there,
Yeah.
But if you sign up at spellbound.com, and obviously there's updates on Twitter, my Twitter and my Facebook and my website, and there's a Spellbound Comics Facebook group now and Spellbound Comics on Twitter. So there's lots of places to follow. But check out the website, because the website has lots of information. And like I said, this is one of the most exciting things. I've been doing this a long time. So for me to say this is one of the most exciting things I've ever been involved in, that's a big statement.
Well, yeah, you get your own multiverse. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why, and if we can get this thing really roll, you never know. Honestly, it's a roll of the dice, which is why I need anyone that loves my work to step up and support this, But if we get these to continue, what a great thing. What a great thing this will be, I'm really excited.
And I mean, you're probably not thinking, I mean, I don't know how far down the road this would be. Probably, I don't know if you even thought of it. Would there be any chance of any crossover between these characters?
People have already asked that. And I originally wasn't thinking of we calling it, kind of half jokingly, the DeMultiverse, but you never know. But let's get them out in the world first, and down the line, there's always a way. It's comics. There's always a way,
Yeah, it's different genres and stuff. Yeah, it might be kind of hard. But yeah, I think
always a way.
The public is so trained these days. They hear multiverse, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna get crossovers." But
right. Yeah. Let's just tell some good stories with each of these books first. I'm a big believer in, please, things don't have to be, like Marvel and DC, and God bless them. I know they do it because this is what sells. But it's like, here's the story that will change things forever.
Yeah.
Until the next story that will change things forever.
In 3 months. Yeah.
Right. And then the next story that will change things forever. And I'm always like, just tell me a good story. I just want a really good, juicy story, So that's what we're trying to do here. We're going to tell some good stories.
And can I just promote that Ben Reilly collection for you?
Yes, please.
Again, kids, I never thought it would happen in my life, let alone as well as this man did. But he brought back Spider Side, and he did it very well. I thought I would never.
That was the intent. The intent. I honestly looked back at the Clone Saga and I said, I always hated that character.
You did a good job.
There's always some, and that's just me. Other writers at that time may have loved that character. I'm just saying, for me, it never clicked for me. Yeah. And I thought, let me take the character that I really didn't like and develop him into something that I really care about. And that's always the challenge. That's and that's always the fun. Even go back to Kraven's Last Hunt. Kraven was never a villain that I particularly was enthralled with. And then, so the idea is, let me look inside this character's head and see what can I do to make him more interesting to me. And hopefully if it's more interesting to me, it'll be more interesting to the readers. So that was the challenge with Spider Side.
Oh, and did you see, I mean, speaking of characters that never return, I guess it's the Marauders series right now, one of the X books. Last page reveal, I guess they're bringing in Judas Traveler.
Why everything comes back, doesn't it?
I know. Well, they're bringing back a lot of 90s stuff, but I was like, Judas Traveler, I thought I'd never see this. That's another one. I'm like, I thought I'd never see that. Especially it's something not written by you. I'm like, whoa.
And it's an X book. It's not a Spider book too. Yeah. Interesting.
Although they are doing a Spider-Man X-Men crossover thing coming up here soon. So maybe
I'll be interested to see what they do with them. I'm always happy when they bring things, what goes around. It's like the Clone Saga, there was those years right after where they wanted to just, dig a hole and bury everything
and not mention it. Yeah.
All those characters have come back. They all keep coming back, and part of that is, to be honest, because some guy who was 12 years old reading that stuff then is now writing that stuff now, Yeah. And it's like, they loved it and they want to see that character again, So everything recycles, and I'm happy to see it and let them use them all in movies. And then you can pay me.
There you go.
But no, it's just nice to see, just like I used to, enjoy taking these characters from stories that I read growing up and using them. You want to see people do that with your characters.
Oh yeah, I mean, remember when me and Lil talked to you about that Amazing Spider-Man 400, and you got didn't you write a story with Stan? You worked with Stan Lee on the one story, right?
There was one. Yeah, there was a backup story that I think I plotted and Stan dialogued. Yeah, yeah. And I forget who. Maybe Tom Grummett drew it, or Kerry Gowell. I think it was Tom Grummett. Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
That was. To see your name in the same credit box as Stan Lee was quite a thrill. It was quite a thrill.
See,
so I guess we can talk about anything else you want to talk about now. I did my big plug. And we can talk about more Ghost Rider or anything else. I don't care.
Well, I was going to say, I can sneak it in real quick because tomorrow morning I'm talking with two gentlemen from Australia. SpiderMan Redemption. We're going to be talking that tomorrow. So your thoughts on that miniseries?
That was, I guess, until this big miniseries, that was sort of my last dance with Ben Reilly.
Yeah.
My memory of that series, though, that was like, I had left the main Spider books by that point. And my friend Glenn Greenberg was editing this thing and asked me if I wanted to do it. It was they knew, I guess, that Ben was going to be out by that point. So this was going to be the last big Ben Reilly adventure. And so, it was Ben, it was Kane, it was Janine, which is a character that I created, Ben's love.
Yeah.
And what I remember at first was that every time I would turn in a proposal, they were having all these meetings about how the books were going to go. So Glenn would have to come back and say, well, we can't do this because they changed that, and we can't do this because. So I think we went through a number of versions of that story before it came out, because they weren't quite sure how they were going to be wrapping up the Clone Saga, but it worked out great. I got to be reunited with Mike Zeck and Bob McLeod. You don't do better than that.
Oh yeah.
And we got to give Ben a really nice send off and really take Kane's character another step forward, another character I love, and move Janine's character forward. I was happy to see Janine came back recently.
Yes.
Spider Books. I mean, what goes around comes around. See, so so it was. I really enjoyed working on that. Just again, just to be reunited with Zeck and McLeod was enough. But to work with those characters, I love those characters. We've said this. We talked about this before. In order to really write those characters, they have to be real to you, and they reach a level where they're real people. They're like your friends. You know them intimately. And Ben Reilly, especially, is one of those characters that I feel like I know this guy better than I know a lot of my friends because I live inside his head. And so it's like, oh, Ben, I haven't seen you for a while. Oh, let's go. What are you up to? And we go off and we tell a story.
But yeah, I mean, do you think we were talking about the 90s stuff coming back around? Is it just you were talking about some of the creators were reading at that point? I think it's
right.
some of the creators, the readers, some of the readers are hanging on too.
Oh, as well, absolutely.
Yeah, because
they're like, this is something they loved, when they were 12 or 13 or whatever, and they've held on to that. The people that were probably hating on the Clone Saga at the time maybe aren't even reading comics now. So it's the people that loved it at the time that grew up, and are now adults. And, so it's interesting. Then it's reintroducing these characters and concepts to a whole new audience. And that's the fun thing about that Ben Reilly series was, I didn't want it to be a nostalgia fest. If it's just being done for the sake of nostalgia, like you see a lot of things, not just in comics, but in all media being rebooted, and you just feel like they're just doing it because they know they can cash in because it's nostalgia. I wanted the story to have some meat and meaning to it, that someone who doesn't have a nostalgia pang for Ben Reilly could pick this book up and read it and enjoy it. Mm-hmm. And I hope we succeeded at that.
Oh yeah, it's a great story. Yeah, people need to pick up that trade. But yeah, I think that it just seems like back in the day they figured, I don't know if it's true or not, that the readers would age out of comics, and now readers.
I don't think they do anymore. The problem for a long time is that they weren't aging out, and there weren't enough younger people coming in.
Yeah,
I think now there's probably a nice mix of both, because I think comics has a cachet, a cultural cachet that it didn't have back then, and so I think we've got a little bit of everything now, which is good. Is good. The audience is broader and deeper and more diverse, and it's a great thing.
Yeah, I think the MCU really helped that. But they, like I said, after the credits, they should put something up that says, "Oh, hey, you love this movie? Go to your local comic shop and go pick up this. The comics these movies were based on."
Yeah, I always say it's a shame that they can't have a little kiosk in the lobby of the movie theaters. Selling comics that relate to that movie.
Exactly, and
that's actually a brilliant idea. And honestly, that because they would make more money, and that's a good thing for them.
Or, with your ticket, you get a code for a digital comic. You buy your movie ticket, you get a code for a digital comic, and that opens that world to you. Something like that to really directly go to that. Because I know, looking at conventions over the years and how the conventions have exploded, and yet I don't feel like the comic book sales have exploded on par with the way the conventions have exploded, because a lot of those people that are at these conventions are there because they love the characters from movies and television. And as I saw from my work in animation, there's a whole audience that loves these characters in animation that doesn't read comics, So, the trick is to get those two audiences to meet. It's an interesting thing that you can be a huge, huge fan of these characters and never, ever have read a comic book, because you're watching a movie or a TV show or playing a video game or watching a cartoon, whatever it may be, and you never even think to pick up a comic. I wonder if some of these people don't even know if the comics still exist. It's really interesting.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of movies like that. I mean, there's probably people who watched all those Harry Potter movies, never read a Harry Potter book in their life.
Right. That's true. But I think she sold enough that she didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, true.
As George Bailey said, I'll take half that in cash,
Yeah, because it would help the theaters. I know one of our local theaters just closed down a few weeks ago. So, they went out of business. So, I mean,
yeah, I wonder, what if, I mean, it would take a real investment on the part of Marvel or DC.
Yeah.
But even like have a creator signing in the lobby of your theater.
Oh yeah.
We're making this up as we go along. This is good. I like this plan.
They actually did have that at a theater I saw. I want to say it was Morbius in.
Really? Oh,
I don't know who the people were, but they had people there to sign stuff. So,
you should set up some creators in the lobby, have the comics there to sell. People buy them, get them signed. Anything that can get that crossover going.
Yeah.
Or they got Disney Plus. Why not? After every show, have an ad for the actual comics. You like the show.
Oh yeah.
Go buy this She-Hulk collection. You like this show. Here's this Vision and Scarlet Witch trade paperback.
Exactly. Yeah, Disney Plus. I mean, they can do even more with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that would take. I mean, how much effort would that take? A 1-minute little animated ad to stick on there.
And are we getting a Craven movie at some point? I think so. I think someone, the writer who wrote Craven's Last Hunt, saying he would do some signings. People.
I read something yesterday that it's been bumped to like 6 or 8 months later or whatever. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see.
Those Sony ones, they seem to have problems with that sometimes. Morbius was bumped. I mean, some of that was pandemic, but I think that was bumped like 6 times or something.
Wow. Yeah, I see that I haven't seen Morbius, but it just popped up on Netflix, I think. So
yeah, I think it is out.
Digital. Check it out.
Yeah.
Well, and I think everyone agrees that the best part is when he says it's Morb in time and Morb's all.
He doesn't say that.
I'm being silly. Don't
Internet legends.
Hey, you can't be silly. We're talking about comic books. This is serious stuff.
I know. All right, Charlie, do you have any more questions, or should we let this man go? He's creating 4 Kickstarter comics at once.
He's doing great work, and I can't wait to read Any Man and Godsend and the rest of them, because it does sound like it will be very, very cool. I do like the godlike superheroes too, so I think this is going to be kind of up my alley. So
good. I'm glad. So anyone out there, just check us out on Twitter and Facebook. Go to spellboundcomics.com. You can set up there or sign up there, and you'll get notifications about the campaign. And one more plug coming in November. Spider-Man. Speaking of Craven, Spider-Man: The Lost Hunt.
Nice.
Yeah. So Ben Reilly took place during that era.
Yeah.
Where was Peter then? Peter and Mary Jane were in Portland. They went off to have their baby and live happily ever after. Mm-hmm. Peter, who after that story, The Final Adventure, has no powers.
Yes.
So now we've got a story that ties into Craven's Last Hunt and deepens the Craven mythology. And Peter comes up against one of the biggest threats he's ever come up against, and he is not Spider-Man. He has no powers whatsoever. So it's an interesting story.
Ooh, nice.
It'll be out in November, and I think I ran out of plugs. That's good. But the big plug is
if you want to plug again, please feel free.
This is spellboundcomics.com. I feel like you ever see, whenever I love William Shatner, whenever you see interviews with William Shatner, he's like the master plugger. He'll always have 10 things going on,
Oh yeah.
and he will always bring it back to whatever he's plugging time and time again. So it's like I should be wearing a shirt that says spellboundcomics.com or a flashing light behind me or something,
Exactly. And like I said, when all the number ones come out, I'm open door. Yeah, please come back. We'll talk.
Yeah.
We'll read them, and we'll come back and tell you how great they were. So
that's great. Fantastic. It's always great to talk to you. Professor, a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise, sir.
All right.
And,
so yes,
we'll talk
thank
again.
you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for taking time again. All the stuff you've done. Look at this Catman's resume. I know he'll love this, but he'll deny it. It's the Paul McCartney of comics, kids. He's been relevant for decades. He keeps putting out more content. Mr. Jam DeMatteis.
Thank you. I was just pondering being the Paul McCartney of comics. That's
I know you're a big Beatles
That's
fan,
a nice.
yeah.
I am a huge Beatles fan, as you know. Yeah, so I'll take it. I'll take it. I don't deserve it, but I'll take it.
All right. So yes, kids. Yes, go pick up all the works from the Paul McCartney of comics, Mr. Jam DeMatteis. Thank you.
Now I need another T-shirt that says Paul McCartney of comics.
There you go.
All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay.